Hi everyone, this is a video on sharpening and denoising. You have to do one with the other. It's a little bit of compromise. You're going to try and denoise and then you're going to have to sharpen a little bit and the denoise again and sharpen a little bit. Cannot do one without the other. So I've chosen this image. It's not the greatest image because this is all blurry here, but it does have a bit of noise in. This is noise at, I think it was 1000 ISO. So for the competition that we're doing, it has to be 2000 or more. So you're possibly going to have a lot more noise. If you've got a very fancy camera like a 5D Mark IV, you're probably going to have no noise whatsoever. Okay, so this is a JPEG and we're going to open it in Camera Raw filter. So you go to filter, Camera Raw, give it a moment to open, and there we go. There we have it. Okay. So we are at 34% at the moment. I'm going to click on 100. I'm going to use the space bar just to move it, and you'll see there's some lovely detail in there, but it really is quite noisy, especially in the shadows. And look at all that noise. Okay, so we're going to try and get rid of a bit of that noise, but keeping the detail. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, this may all be closed for you, or usually it defaults to this being open here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to basic. The first thing you do in your workflow is the toning. So if you've got some highlights or shadows, let's actually just go the whole thing. Highlight, shadows, do whatever you want, white, black. Okay, that's not so much about this at the moment, but you'll see that if you take all the shadows away, the noise actually gets worse there. So always be quite careful about when working with your shadows. Okay, if you add shadows, you see the noise is almost gone. Okay, so we're just going to pretend that is now the absolutely most perfect image that we've ever seen. Okay, we're going to close basics for now. Okay, and we're going to go to detail, and we're going to do the noise reduction first. So the noise reduction, you open it there, click there, click there. This is Photoshop 21 and this is Camera Raw Filter 12, I think. So if you haven't got the latest, you'll still get all this, but you usually won't have to click these. It probably comes up when you click on the detail. All of these will still be there. Okay. If you got a raw file, if you open sharpening, it'll actually do default sharpening for you. Always just pull it back. Okay, we're not going to do sharpening yet. The first thing we're going to do is look at color noise reduction. How do you know if you've got color noise? Well, if you do this and nothing much happens, as in this case, see really nothing much happens, it means that there's not a lot of color noise here at all. So we're going to just go into 100%, going to hold the space bar down, and so see lovely detail, bit of noise there. And if you do go up to color reduction, there's not much color reduction noise there, so don't have to worry about that for this image. Okay, we're now going to go to noise reduction. Now if you watch this part here, noise reduction, let's go up to like, the noise is disappearing, but it's actually slightly blurring it. If you look here, things are starting to blur, you're starting to lose a bit of detail there. If you go all the way, you get like what looks like a painting. Okay, so we're going to pull back, just start at about 50%. Okay, and this is where the detail and the contrast starts coming in. So detail, do you want all the detail back? But then again, you're starting to introduce the noise again. Right, so you need a happy medium. So somewhere, and every photo is obviously going to be different. So you're looking here, there's still nice detail here and detail here. Okay, something like that. If you want more noise, if you want more detail, the noise is starting to come back there. So really it is just a game of playing and playing. Okay. The contrast by itself is also a sharpening tool here, but you see as soon as I did that, it added contrast. So if you look, added noise. So if you look here, it's starting to add more noise. So again, you can fiddle a little bit there and decide how much noise you want and how much contrast. Let's look at it as fitting in. That looks actually really, really nice, kind of thing there. It goes to 100. Okay, and again, this is not the perfect image because a whole lot more should be in focus. Okay, there's a bit there. You see that poor little chap, whatever it's eating, this head is out of focus. So I really wouldn't use this image for competition. But again, that there is, to me, is looking okay, is looking acceptable. You can obviously go more and more, but then it's very, very blurry there. So again, I'm just going to pull it back there. It's something about that. So something like that. Okay. You do not do sharpening now. Close your detail, go back to basics. So you've done your tones, you've done your denoising, and now if you want to fiddle with the contrast a little bit, you can. And if you want to fiddle with dehazing, you can. Let's go back. Okay. There's no haze here, but I'm going to show you dehazing. It's quite a nice tool, and you see it adds a whole lot to the contrast of the image. It always darkens your image. If you want to make it really, if you want to do a misty flower, that's the way to do it. Fiddle with your dehaze here. So, if you go there, you double click on it and it'll go back to naught. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm not going to fiddle anything with the dehazing. That is another tool you can do. Then we're going to go to clarity. So watch the clarity here. All the way. Okay, again, it's what it does is it fiddles with the edges here. If you look at the eyes there, watch out. Okay, and it wonderful definition is coming through. Again, it darkens things because it uses contrast. But watch here, are we getting into noise again? Okay, I'm going to go for 50% here. Okay, so again, just be careful there. I'm going to add a little bit of clarity there. Texture. So clarity is quite a strong tool. Texture is not as strong, but you can add a little bit of texture there. So adding lots of texture. Look at those eyes, they're coming up beautifully. But again, the noise is starting to come in here. So I'm going to pull back to about somewhere around there. Okay, how's that looking? Let's go to fit. That's looking really, really nice. There's lots of detail there. Too bright there. We're not doing highlighting and dodging now. But you see all the details that are now coming through. It's really, really nice. There's quite a lot of contrast now as it is. So if you want to go and add more contrast, you can. But then you're going to have to fiddle with the shadows a bit more. And then the noise is starting to come up again. Then you have to go back to detail maybe, and the noise reduction, and maybe just a little bit there. And so you're just going to go backwards and forwards till you think not so much noise, but really nice detail there. Just do back to the detail here. Now we're going to go to sharpening. Sharpening is the last thing you do, because all those things that we've done, adding to the contrast, which is kind of your sharpening, because where you're dark or light, it's really emphasizing those things. Okay, now sharpening. Okay, way too much. Okay, you'll see a whole lot of noise is starting to come in there. And this here is sort of haloing, pixeling out. And so then you know you've over sharpened. Okay, go somewhere around there. So that was the original. It's really sharpened there nicely. There's hardly any noise in there, and it's really sharpened there nicely. Okay, radius you can add, and you can see what it does. I usually just keep it on 1. Okay, detail. So now, how much detail do you want it to go sharpened? That's none, that's lots. That's none, that's lots. None, okay. Detail none. And lots. It's starting to bring the noise back. Okay, so just double click on there. And it goes back to 25. That's what it defaults to. Happy with that. Now, this is a wonderful tool here, masking. Okay. If you hold the Alt key down and click on that, holding the Alt key down, everything white, and you're clicking on the little triangle at the same time. So your mouse button is down and your finger's on the Alt button. Everything that is white is being sharpened. Keep your finger on the Alt button and move this along. Now everything that white is being sharpened. It's just a little, right? And you're carrying on, you're carrying on. You don't want the background to be sharpened. Okay, so look at that. As you go along, those things are being sharpened now. It's basically the edges of everything. Okay, so you leave it there. And how's that? Okay, so you use your Alt key for that. Alt key, and you hold your mouse on that triangle, and you can, well, that's hardly anything. That's kind of, and that's everything. Okay. So make sure there's nothing in the background that's being sharpened. Okay. Right, well, how does that look? Okay, so we are now going to, I've got this little thing here for recording. Now I can't see the OK button, so I'm going to go OK. And that's the difference. That was the original. You think it's sort of sharp, but how about that? Isn't that amazing? So let's zoom in here and let's zoom into the original. Look at all that noise there. Right, not much detail. Look at that noise, how less it is. Do you see that? See that difference? Just look at the green here. And then also look at this here just for sharpening. Isn't that amazing? Okay. I will actually put my photos through denoising, whether they've got a lot of noise or not, because it helps with the sharpening. As you saw, it helps with the contrast, and contrast is your sharpening. Okay, let's get back to Control Naught. Takes it back to fit in window, Control Naught. And how about that? Isn't that amazing? That's quite lots into there. See all that noise there, and look at it now. It's really a whole lot better. Now if you don't want that, you can go in and you can go back, filter, camera raw filter. Now remember, it doesn't save your images because you're not using a raw file. It's only if you're using that raw file will it save your settings. Sorry. Because this is a JPEG file, it doesn't save these, and then you can start again if you want. But again, you can do more noise if you want. You can bring back more detail. You can say okay. I personally think, I'm just going to undo that. I personally think that is absolutely fine. So there we go. Try it. It's wonderful.